China Evergrande, a real estate company, is in the news because it owes a lot of money. Because money is attractive, and more money is more attractive, many people are talking about it. So in this video, we'll talk about why Evergrande is in such a mess. Hello and welcome to the channel. The one key skill. In some ways, Evergrande's story is fairly intuitive as real estate is a simple and relatable business. In most places across the world, it requires one key skill set: the ability to build and nurture good relationships with the government. Once that is in place, you can get access to land, the critical resource. Because quite often, the most valuable land in a country is with the government. You'll need some funds to buy that land, but once that is in place, you are on your way. Money shouldn't be a problem anymore. Take my money. Almost the entire building and construction work will be funded by loans from banks, vendors and buyers. Banks are happy to lend to real estate businesses, because they can lend large amounts of money and get well compensated for the loans. Not just that, the banks can also lend to the property buyers, who buy the houses. Again, they get to lend a lot of money, and earn a lot of interest. Finally, by lending to real estate, banks make governments happy, or at least, get governments off their back. You see, the governments want banks to lend to sectors which politicians prefer. And real estate is one such sector. For banks, if there is a win-win, it is lending to the real estate sector. Vendors who work for real estate companies also help fund the projects by accepting delayed payments. Many are happy to wait a little more than usual to get paid. Similarly, buyers too help fund real estate projects, as many are happy to pay now, and wait for years for their dream home. Build. And build some more. When the times are good, and there is optimism about the future, lots of people buy houses. An ambitious real estate company, like Evergrande, during the good times, will try and make the most of it. It will launch as many new projects as it can. The more projects it launches, the more money it borrows. If your ambition is to keep growing, then your real estate company will add more and more debt to its balance sheet. The longer you are able to grow, the more debt you'll have. And as China experienced one of the longest periods of sustained growth ever, it is no surprise that its largest and most ambitious real estate company grew to be the most indebted real estate organization on this planet. $300 billion, which is the amount of money that Evergrande owes its creditors, boggles the mind. Not entirely illegal. Apart from the very large debt figure, the other weird thing about Evergrande is that it never reported losses in all its years of operation as a public company. If that is the case, then why is it in so much trouble? One of the reasons could be that not everything that Evergrande built was sold. There are estimates floating on the internet that say almost a fourth of what they ever built did not sell. Now if I am an apple farmer, and a quarter of my apples go bad and don't sell, then it's a big loss for my business. However, houses are not apples. The real estate company can just say, "We'll sell it later," and not recognize it as a loss. Not just that, if the home prices are going up, it can say that the unsold homes are now more valuable, and book a profit. Weirdly, that is not entirely illegal. So Evergrande did a lot of that. Another reason could be that Evergrande capitalized its interest expense. That is, instead of reducing interest from profit in the year it paid the interest charges, it added it to the cost of its inventory. When that inventory is sold, probably a few years down the line, it will be recognized as cost of goods sold. In effect, Evergrande can spend the money today and show it as an expense, many years down the line. Again, it is not entirely illegal. And as long as the home prices kept rising, and the houses kept getting sold, it was fine. But it does create confusion if Evergrande is profitable or not. Real estate is important. One side effect of ever-increasing home prices is that they become too expensive. A home is aspirational, and people are ready to make all kinds of sacrifices to own one. If home prices are unaffordable in the main city, then people will buy homes in the outskirts, and add misery to their life by commuting for multiple hours. In China, it got so bad that the unaffordability of homes started worrying the government. You see, the real estate sector accounts for 14% of the country's GDP. As a comparison, for India, it's 6 to 7%. At some level, it makes sense because of China's larger population and higher prosperity than India. There are more people who are able to afford homes in China than in India. So real estate is important enough to the Chinese economy for the government to worry about. It wouldn't want houses to get so expensive that people stop buying altogether. So to cool things down a bit, the government asked banks to reduce lending to the space, and told the real estate giants like Evergrande to stop taking so much debt, also known as deleveraging. Deleveraging is hard. In the usual times, Evergrande would go ask banks and rich people for loans, and they'll happily oblige. Some of these new loans can be used to repay old loans, while the company waits for money to flow in from buyers. However, these are unusual times. Banks are not giving loans anymore, and the rich people are skeptical too. Over and above that, there are not many buyers for its homes because they are too expensive. So it's very challenging for Evergrande to pay back its borrowers. There is a risk of contagion if Evergrande fails to pay back the debt, since it has borrowed so much, and from so many. You see, those banks got that money from someone else, which they then lent to Evergrande. If Evergrande doesn't repay, then the bank can't repay it back to its depositors or lenders. If Evergrande collapses, the bank might collapse as well. It is what is most worrying for many. How it'll pan out in the end, time will tell. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, a like would be much appreciated. And do consider subscribing as it helps out the channel a lot. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.